Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching This Show, your twice weekly pop culture podcast where we talk about movies, TV, music, and more. And as always, this is the spoiler show for this and everything else under the sun.
Anything else you can imagine. We're going to spoil it all.
Warned. On today's episode, we are going to talk about the 2011 Jane Eyre. So there could certainly...
Very excited.
There could certainly be spoilers for Wuthering Heights or Great Expectations.
Yeah, you should have read all of these books in high school. I have no sympathy.
I mean... Maybe there's some dummies out there on YouTube.
I don't know.
I'm one of them.
I read all those books in high school.
No, I did not. Well, I read the great illustrated classics versions. Remember? Because we couldn't determine if that counted or not.
I actually read Jane Eyre for pleasure as an adult.
That checks. Yeah. But so you are so excited. Why?
This movie's good.
You've seen it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Multiple times. It's good. I think you're going to hate it.
Oh.
It's slow and it's not very pretty, but it's romantic, but it's good.
Okay.
It's also very fallish.
Oh, well, that's okay. So we're in the middle of like a hurricane that won't shit or get off the pot.
Hurricane.
Well, yeah, it's like...
Yeah, it's dancing in the Gulf.
And so it's pretty dreary, it's rainy, it's gloomy, and...
Fits right in.
Yeah.
Jane Eyre just slips right in there.
So I fancy myself a mild intellectual, but I have blind spots, and the Brontes are one of them.
Okay.
I am aware that there are more than one, so much so that there are three, one of whom does not write.
She did, right.
Oh, the third one?
Yep. And she's not very popular.
No. There's a Family Guy joke that I think is really funny where the first two sisters are congratulating each other on their like accomplishments. And the third one is like,
I made blood out my lady parts. Good for you. So we've all done something. It's happening now.
Ah, it's a period joke. It's a period joke.
What makes that worth it is they were like, it was a period joke.
Yeah.
And then Brian's like, it was a period joke.
Yeah. No, they all three wrote, but I think they all three only had one.
I fancy myself an intellectual.
Yeah, I fancy myself an intellectual. Let me talk about a Family Guy joke.
You don't even know who I am. So she wasn't very successful, you said?
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember. I don't think any of them were successful while they were alive.
Well, Emily Bronte and Charlotte Bronte, and then Peggy.
I'm Peggy.
So Emily is Wuthering Heights.
I actually never remember which one is which.
Okay.
Yeah. This is Charlotte. So okay. Charlotte wrote Jane Eyre, Emily wrote Wuthering Heights, and Anne wrote a book.
This came into my radar because there is a phenomenal photo shoot.
Yeah, where Will's gonna put it right here.
I can't wait to...
It's funny that you haven't seen Wayne's World and yet you keep doing
that. It was with Michael Fassbender and
Mia Wasikowska.
I can't remember if it was her, Emily Browning.
No, it's the two of them because it was because of this movie and they did this like amazing photo shoot.
And it was just like really classy and really sexy. And it was like they're kind of in old timey clothes, but also maybe like ballet warm up.
Yeah. Like deconstructed old timey ballet clothes and they're fencing.
And she has like couture. But anyways, so that piqued my interest and then I just never got around to it. And so I'm actually kind of excited to watch this. I think I liked Little Women and I liked Portrait of a Lady on Fire and like those are
so it is more like Portrait of a Lady on Fire with the pace
slow burning,
but it's like it's not really funny like Pride and Prejudice or Little Women or anything, and not as much happens. Also, I want to warn you ahead of time that it is a little bit like David Copperfield, where everyone's just a dick to her for a while until she like catches a break. But
well, I also know that there is like something to know, like a secret, and unfortunately, I had it ruined for me. I think thrice, and the first two times I was able to successfully forget it, and now I'm pretty sure I remember. So
okay, well, we won't talk about that yet.
Not yet.
We'll get into that later.
I wish I didn't know though. But
I mean, I don't know. Okay. We'll see.
So I guess on that note, we're gonna go watch Jane. We're gonna err on the side of caution.
God. And intellectual.
Everything seems unreal. You saw most phantom-like of all.
Jay.
Well, we are back after watching Jane Eyre.
Yeah.
So, did you have anything you wanted to say, or?
No, I want to know if you liked it.
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, sweet. Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't know how many times I would sit down and watch
Sure.
it.
I've watched it like 5 times.
I'm good. No, I loved it.
Yes.
I was really into it.
Are you fucking with me right
No.
now? Okay. My stats are going up with things I've suggested for you to watch. Yes.
No, I'm a little surprised you thought I wouldn't like it.
It's just so slow and it's dark and it's all brown and everything.
That kind of feels like it suits it.
Well, it does.
I really wish I didn't know.
Okay.
That would have blown my mind. That would have taken me so out of the movie. And so I can't decide.
Like in a bad way?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. Spoilers is what we do. It's the brand. The thing is, I didn't realize that it was sort of presented as a ghost story.
A little.
Kind of. It's very Bly Manor.
It's not as much of a ghost story as Wuthering Heights is. Wuthering Heights is like littered with ghosts.
Really?
Yeah.
Is there a version
So they're actually what's her name, Andrea Arnold, who was like supposedly supposed to do this second season of Big Little Lies.
Mm-hmm.
She directed a version that actually has a black guy playing Heathcliff instead of Ralph Fiennes. It's supposed to be quite good, but I have not seen that. I've only seen the one with Ralph Fiennes.
Okay, I'm interested now. I don't know. I think a lot can be said for the fact that I really like Mia Wasikowska and Michael Fassbender, and never underestimate the appeal of Judi Dench.
Oh, sure. I was gonna go a different direction and say never underestimate the appeal of Michael Fassbender in 1840s clothes.
In white tights. Yeah. No.
Tight off-white breeches.
No, I guess I'm a low-key Judi Dench stan.
Yeah, Judi Dench is great.
She really brought something so necessary to the movie, because you are right. They sort of put her through the ringer.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was drab, but it was certainly stylish. Like, it had its own style.
Well, I think that can be credited to Cary Fukunaga, the director. Yeah.
It was a nice mix of it's kind of like Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Kind of like, and so that
because there's almost like direct lifts of dialogue from Cinderella.
And that's the kind of thing that I wonder what informed what and when and how. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like we're watching adaptations of old.
This was written in the 1830s, I think, is what decided.
Which Cinderella was properly established by that point.
Yeah. That's one thing I do love about the Brontes is that it's all a little fairy tale-y. Well, but it's so dark. They make it so dark.
There was something that felt female about it. Yeah. Like when I almost asked if we could wait and record this later because I wanted to go home and study, but then I was like, I'll confuse myself. So I was like, let's go ahead and go with like the momentum and like just talk about it. Cause I would watch some video essays and stuff and I'd be very like, yes. And but I did glance at Wikipedia and it talks about how the book contains elements of social criticism. And I think that is apparent, certainly in this version. I'm going to assume also the book, where it's like, though things are happening, like I feel like a man of the time could have written this same story beat for beat, but it would have felt more oppressive.
Sure. In
a way that I think there's something innately female and or at least other, like outside from the time that, because she released it under a pseudonym.
Did she?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Currer Bell.
Mm.
So, I mean, you didn't really know, but I think it was very, it had like a feminist sort of vibe. And
I definitely agree. And I think that's more to do with the character of Jane. I think because you could have had this book from the perspective of Mr. Rochester, but sounds so tedious and boring. We would have had
very indulgent,
so much more Blanche Ingram, and like, I have had enough Blanche Ingram.
Well, before we get to that, and maybe it's Mia, I'm not entirely sure, because she's not doing a lot, but she is captivating
somehow.
Well, I don't know if it's just Mia or the way that Cary filmed her or both or whatever, but it's like we just talked about Twilight. It's like she has what Bella wants.
Oh, yes.
Like what Bella craves.
Yeah.
And
because that's the thing is, like, I think Jane is pants enough to, like...
Well, she's very plain. I mean, she even says something about being plain, yet kind of...
That is my favorite interaction that they have.
Why? I don't...
Well, okay, so I did read the book, and it is a little funnier. I guess there's, like, more dialogue, so you're able to get a little bit deeper into it. But when he says, "Do you think me handsome?" and she says, "No, sir," and then she's like, "I'm also plain," and they just are like us two uggos, like, hanging out after dinner.
Your gaze is very direct, Miss Eyre. Do you think me handsome?
No, sir.
What fault do you find with me? I have all my limbs and features.
I beg your pardon, sir. I ought to have replied that beauty is of little consequence.
You're blushing, Miss Eyre. And though you're not pretty any more than I am handsome, I must say it becomes you.
I find it very charming.
Well, she's certainly not dolled up. I mean,
no.
She's not gussied up at all. Yeah. But it just like, and this goes back to the whole ghost story, gothic, romance part of it, where had I not known where we were going, I would have been properly mind fucked. I would have been like, is there a ghost? Like, and I envy not having that experience. Like, I envy the person who could have had that experience, because it would have really thrown in a way, though, that I think I would have been mildly disappointed when there was if you threaten me with magic and then don't give it to me.
Sure.
But it's like, I want to know. And so, but because of that sort of like underlying thread, I never trusted what was happening.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if it's intended that way, but even when their romance is like going full fledged, I still didn't quite trust him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does have Michael Fassbender's face.
But even without that, I feel like, having this be my first and only, experience with the story, I feel like that's kind of the point of it, is that you can never truly know
another person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is the deal? What is who is Bertha?
His wife.
Yeah. They got married. Explain that to me.
So they got married
15 years ago
because his father wanted it because she had a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then she like promptly went crazy.
Okay. So she did go crazy.
She had like a breakdown.
Oh, okay.
But then he didn't want to put her in an institution because I don't know if you know this, but 1815 institutions were not great.
Mm-hmm.
So he kept her in the house, but he kept her locked up away.
So he didn't do that to her. He didn't drive her crazy.
No, because he even has a line where he says the only thing that would curb her was, I don't think he says violence, but it was like he would have had to like manhandle her, and he was like, I couldn't do it to her. So, but he had no problem manhandling Jane across the friggin' moors to the church. He was like, "Come, Jane," and like dragged her bodily across, and then all the way back.
So the wedding gets like interrupted, and they do the same thing where he like enough information has been spilled, and he's like, "Do you want to see my secret?" And then for 15 minutes, you just sort of imagine them shuffling, like it was a walk, like it was a hike.
Edward, please, just tell me what happened.
There's a Simpsons joke where like Marge is kind of like. It's once they're married, her and Homer are married, but she like meets this other guy and she's sort of like flirting with him.
Let me take you for a ride. Or should I say, glide?
I'm just happy you're talking again. You didn't say a word for 45 minutes.
And
do
so for
love that, yeah.
the purposes of the edit, it worked, but it's like, so there were a couple moments like that where I was like,
Yeah.
So, okay, well then that does, I just never fully trusted him. I thought that like he was trying to get, no, I know. Okay. So then he actually was kind of like, I mean, I don't know if you can say a good guy, but it's like
Well, there's a reason he's a romantic hero.
Okay.
For the ages. He loved Jane.
So then why did she leave?
Because he was already married.
Well, she went back.
She was dead. She died then. Bertha died in the fire.
Yeah, but okay, is that the social criticism with strong sense of Christian morality at its core? Well,
because that's why she can't marry him when he already has a wife. I know that I would maybe do it in the present day, but in the 1800s, that was like not to happen. And she couldn't have lived with it herself.
I kept waiting for the betrayal, and other than the secret wife, it didn't come.
No, I think he truly loved her, and he wanted to be with her, and he just was like, maybe it'll go away if I lock it in the attic and let it set fire to my bedroom every now and then, and stab her own brother.
So then, what was that?
She just like breaks out sometimes of the.
But I mean, the brother, when he came to visit, did he know she was locked away up there?
I think he must have known something.
And why did she stab him?
Crazy. She's cuckoo bananas. She doesn't know.
Okay.
She like scratched Edward's face all up. She spit at Jane.
Well, it was a fly.
Well, whatever.
She was like eating.
Spit it out of her mouth.
No, I know. She was eating flies. And then, so, I mean.
She's been locked in the attic for 11 years.
I mean, she might be good in bed.
Total crazy buddy, actual crazy buddy.
I'm like putting things together. So when Jane at the end was going back to the Thornwood,
Thornfield.
I was so proud of myself for getting it right.
Well, I kept saying Thornhill earlier, but it's Thornfield.
Thornfield. Thistle House.
There's also so many in all of these like classic romance books, because Wuthering Heights is the name of it. Thornfield, there's like Pemberley, and like all of this, like there's so many. So
when she was going back, I was hard waiting. I guess I was expecting great expectations. I was expecting cruelty. And so I was hard waiting for Imogen Poots to just be the mistress of the house when she went back.
Okay.
And when Lauren Ingram, or whatever her name was, Blanche Ingram, and so that Laura Ingram's a really nice writer on Twitter that gets a lot of shit every time Laura Ingram does something stupid.
Oh, I was like, watch yourself.
And so then it was like burnt down, and I was like, oh God. I was like thinking she was going to find them.
Oh. No.
Like, I was like, because I don't know where this place is and what its like conjunction to society. Yeah. So, and then Judi Dench finds her, and there's just such a sweet scene. And because she's just like, I would have helped you. That was just so great, because her early life was so terrible.
So bad.
Like comically so. And I think that's
Sally Hawkins just like.
For no reason.
First of all, her dick son slammed Jane's face into the wainscoting.
She's bleeding.
And she's bleeding from a head wound, and quite rightly goes after him and is beating him about the face and neck.
And they're like, you go to the room, you troublemaker with a head wound.
You shrew.
Yeah.
And then she proceeds to knock herself unconscious on the doorway. I mean, same.
Well, they did a good job setting up the ghost story, because she went to the red room, which was like the haunted room, and the like chimney like shits the bed, and it like, so I mean, there were these weird touches throughout it where you were like, ooh, is this actually? And then Adele tells her about like the woman who roams the halls and drinks blood and stuff, and
Bertha.
Yeah. No, I knew when she was explaining that. And so I was like, they established things, but so who was Adele? She was just a bastard?
So, there's more about it in the book, and I can't actually remember. I think she is Mr. Rochester's.
Yeah.
But
she's illegitimate?
I think so. But I can't remember if she's actually his or not, or if he just was friendly with the mother and like agreed to take her. Because
he calls her his ward.
Yeah.
So that wouldn't be,
unless you just can't acknowledge the bastard. But I don't know.
I mean, there were warning signs, Jane.
Well, yeah. I love Mr. Rochester. I don't love him the same way that I love Mr. Darcy or Colonel Brandon, but I do love him. I think you said Beauty and the Beast. It's very like that, where it's like, it's not quite as much on the Stockholm Syndrome like side of things, but
I did love why was she so clever? Just because?
Yeah.
She was, yeah. I mean, well, she was outwitting him left and right.
Those are the conversations, and there's more of them in the book. They're so good and like back and forth. It's very quippy in a way that like is slightly unusual.
I'm glad I saw it now. I think if I saw it when it came out, I wouldn't have kept up with it quite as much. Because we paused in the middle and I was like, so do people really speak this way? Or I was sort of like, is this sort of like a flowery affectation of art from the time period? And you were like, kind of both, but mostly they did speak that way.
The only reason I think it must be true is because the book was written then, and there are surviving letters from then that are very flowery language. So
because the thing is, it's like I understand everything they're saying. Like it's sort of like speaking a different language a little bit that I'm fluent in, you know what I mean? But it's like I don't know that I could speak that way myself, and if I were to, I would need time. Like I would have to jot some notes down and maybe look up a word. You know what I mean? Like in order for me, and she's just pulling it out of her mouth, like, because what was it? She was like, it anguishes, or it antagonized me to the point of pain or something.
Oh yeah, now I can't remember.
Was it anguish?
I think it was anguish.
She says like it anguishes me to the point of pain, and you were like, today would be like,
that's annoying.
Yeah,
I'm annoyed.
It really chapped my ass.
I'm annoyed by your behavior. No, I think you're right though, because do you remember the first time we watched Dangerous Liaisons, and you and Will, like every 10 minutes were like, okay, you pause it and you'd be like, what happened in that scene? And you were like asking me, you were like, let me know what's up, because I think you didn't ask me like at all what was going on.
I followed everything in this one. Yeah.
So that is interesting. Maybe I just need to make you watch more Regency era shit.
Well, I mean, we watched a lot this year.
Yeah, we did.
And there was also less to keep track of, I feel like, in this one.
There are fewer characters.
It was more streamlined. I was surprised at how actually romantic I found it to be, given how sort of gloomy it was. Sure. That I really did find it. There was a part of me that was like, would I throw it all away for
Michael Fassbender's ass and those breeches? Yeah. We would all throw it all away for that. Yeah, I agree. I think it's really romantic too. I think their love story is also super believable to me. Like once they actually get there, once he actually like confesses that he's like, no, I want to marry you.
When she asked where he was, and Judi Dench told her, I was like completely prepared for a tombstone.
Oh, him to be dead.
Yeah, I was so and I was like, oh,
just and blind.
Then, that's nice because now he actually needs her.
Yeah. Super healthy relationship.
Read fairy tale. things factor.
What?
Similar things factor in. But the school that she went to
with Jamie Bell.
No, the school.
Oh, the boarding.
Yeah, the boarding school.
school.
Her friend Helen.
Yeah.
That was really odd to me. It was very notable because it felt slightly homoerotic, which is odd because they were so young. But I mean, at that age, that stuff started. I just wondered where Helen's fondness of her came from.
So I think there was more of her at the boarding school in the book as well that I didn't really
want more.
Yeah,
but
I'm not reading this for her boarding school friend who died. I'm reading this for Mr. Rochester.
It was really sweet, and there was something sort of formative about it.
Yeah, I just think they had more time to like have more of a fondness for one another in the book.
And then of course her being like ripped away from her in the morning, not even really, because she was still
sleeping,
so she hadn't even processed anything.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I enjoyed that.
We could talk about this movie's Mr. Collins, which is Jamie Bell.
Okay, so I really I thought we were ending there.
Oh,
yeah, I was so prepared. I was like, what a nice, not so much compromise, because that sounds bad for like love and like life and stuff, but it's like I was really glad that we started with that and then went back, because it's like, had we done this linearly and we spent like the first hour and 35 minutes
in boarding school,
with Michael Fassbender.
Oh.
And then suddenly we're introduced to this character and his two sisters. And I'd be like,
Who the fuck is
what
this?
the fuck is this plot? And so I was like, I'm glad we started there.
Sure.
And went back because I imagine the book isn't that way.
I don't remember, actually. I don't think so. I think it's more.
I think that was very effective. And I sort of did admire, because this is also similar to Great Expectations, where it's like, I sort of did admire that she was so content just to have like a job and life.
Yeah.
Like all she and meanwhile, it's like there are people around her with like heaps of wealth and stuff, and and she has like a fortune like dangled in front of her several times, but it just sort of
one of the things that I do like about it too is how like what a humble character she is, because it's a similar vein through all of the, you know, the great romances. There's always like a humble character who, or almost always, who like stays humble and then they get rewarded at the end for, you know, their humility. But I do like that not only does she get rewarded, but she gets rewarded with like 1.4 million pounds.
Is that what it is?
That's what it would be like today. And it's just like, are you absolutely shitting me? It's in 20,000 pounds.
Well, then she's just trying to give it away. I'm like,
well, so that's the, okay. She's so desperate for a family that she's like, I'll stay with you and I'll pay for everything. And like, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you need to do something for you though. And it's like, she doesn't have that.
And I mean, I was weirdly rooting for her and Jamie Bell with Colin.
No, I called him Mr. Collins because he's the one who won't take her no for an answer, like in Pride and Prejudice. His name is, well, it's Saint John, but they pronounce it St. John. And I'm not a fan.
I was oddly rooting for them, although, I mean, I think Jamie Bell is adorable, but there's not really
Well, okay, so Jamie Bell is physically like right here, and then Michael Fassbender is physically in his body, like up here.
Yeah, I was surprised. That's what I was waiting for, was for her to like settle down and marry him and stuff. And I and in that regard, I feel like that.
Well, she literally was like, "I can't love you." Like, I physically can't do it.
Which that could easily get very eye-rolly for me, and it didn't. Again, I don't know how much of it is the actual novel itself or the adaptation. I think probably both, because I mean, I was responsive to Little Women and Emma.
Yeah.
So maybe I am into, but so all three of those are written by women, though.
The books, yes.
So.
Because you kind of like Pride and Prejudice also. Yeah. 3 of those were also adapted by women, I think. So.
It was very good, and it really kind of suited the time. It's a good like dreary if you're in a blizzard or a rainstorm or even if you're just kind of depressed, lean in.
I mean, don't lean all the way in.
For a little bit.
Well, I also think
order some pizza.
I think you can lean in for a little while, but then it does have the uplifting ending where
get a robe, drape yourself.
Yeah,
like
really, really braid your hair. Oh, it's like this, straight down the sides,
and then a knot right
like
here.
This.
Such unfortunate. They actually were more flattering in this one, especially. I thought Holiday Granger and
her name is Tamsin Merchant.
Yeah, from
Carnival Row.
Thank you. I thought they were cute, and I actually really
also Adele's bows. Smack on the.
She did kind of disappear from the movie.
Yeah, well, it really stops being about Jane Eyre, the governess, and more about Jane Eyre, the love interest. But yeah, I love this one. I think it's very moody and it's very good for like fall and winter, and it just is. Their chemistry also. So before we say goodbye on this episode, I think the thing I like the best about this and why I don't. Because it's possible to find all of these things problematic because it's all about like trying to find a husband and stuff. But I think this one's very specifically not about trying to find a husband. I think it's really interesting. And I love the way that Jane and Rochester are able to like they match wits with each other.
And then there you go. Because I was like, so then why did she leave him if she's just going to go back to him? And it's because she sort of needed to. It's about trying to find herself.
Yeah,
it's about trying to reclaim herself.
I mean, even at the end, when
because she was taken away from herself as a child,
for sure. Yeah. And then even at the end, when she's saying no to Jamie Bell, he's like, "How can I take a 19-year-old girl to India if she's not my wife?" And that really sort of hits it home, where it's like she was like 17 when she showed up at Thornfield, and it's like, so it's like she needed to get away and like figure some stuff out, and it like doesn't hurt that she has her own money now and stuff. So it is actually very sort of feministy, ahead of its time, and I love yes, the feminism, but also the robots. The robots. Was a Jane Eyre the one that they were doing? I don't remember. I can't remember that. It's Friends though. But I do love how they match wits with each other, and how so he's nicer to her sooner in the movie. It takes him a long time to be like pleasant to her in the book. I love Judi Dench going on and on about how wonderful he is. Yeah. And she's like, unless, of course, he's in ill spirits. Yeah, which seems constant. But I do love the little, like, smirks he gives her every time that she sort of surprises him with her responses and stuff. It's just very well done. And I can't overstate it, how good they are together in these roles. Because initially it was supposed to be Ellen Page. And I think physically she would have suited it, but like there's no way she would have had chemistry that good with Michael Fassbender. There's no way. What? Would have been like climbing a tree. I mean, well, yeah, she's also so tiny. Would you come to mid-thigh? Like... yeah, but I love it. It's so good. If you liked this and you want Will to watch Wuthering Heights, let us know. He might be into it. Gotta know which version though. They did a version on MTV. Yeah, I think it was like modern though. Yeah. When we were kids, so we'll be doing that one. Probably not. We'll see. Maybe we'll do all the Wuthering Heightses. Like 14. Probably. So let us know if you want more of this type of stuff, and we could probably find some adaptations. But yeah, otherwise you can follow us on Twitter @SoI'mWatching, Instagram @SoI'mWatchingTheShow. You can also follow along on the website, soimwatching.com, which links out to everything, including the YouTube, which you can subscribe to right over here. And then other than that, just please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes or YouTube or wherever you listen. That's it for us. Bye.